Shanta, who is doing spotlight, me or somebody else?
You are doing.
Okay, fine.
Hari Om Chaitanya.
Hari Om. A warm welcome to each and everyone present here by me, Chik Chaitanya Chhatre, on behalf of Chinmay Prerna to Chinmay Family Pathshala. A humble welcome to Brahmachari Ved Chaitanya ji. Let us start our program by invocating God who is within all of us. I request Chik Anugraha to do invocation prayers. Over to you, Anugraha.
हरि ओम ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् यस्य स्मरणमात्रेण भक्ता शिष्याश्च सेवकाः प्रेरणां प्राप्नुवन्तिः चिन्मयं तं वयं नुमः हरि ओम्
Thank you, Anugraha. Now, we have some exciting news for all of you by Srimati Radhika Malya. Over to you, Radhika Amma.
Hari Om. Hari Om, children. This announcement is for our Balvihar Pathshala Balvihar children. You all are there, children? We are coming up with a very, very exciting and good news for you. We are having a camp, Purushottam Rama. Name of the camp is Purushottam Rama from 25th May to 29th May. And timing is 3 to 5. So we are going to have lots of fun. Stories, games, activities. You know, you love to play games on Kahoot, right? So we will be having lots of games and activities. So block your dates on those days. And you will get these flyers on our groups. So register yourself as soon as possible. Okay? That's all.
Hari Om. Yes, children, one more thing is about the Bhaja Govindam chanting. We have seen that our chicksters, our young brothers and sisters, grown-up brothers and sisters, they have been doing the chanting in the last 2 weeks. And this time they're going to speak about Bhaja Govindam too. That's a surprise which I think I have given out already. But what I heard from the Balvihar children was, why don't we get a chance to chant? Yes? So next week, we will allow our Balvihar children to do the chanting, and we will allot a few of the children from each Balvihar. So the Sevikas will call you up and tell you which verse to chant, so that you are prepared by next week. And next week will be Balvihar Bhaj Govindam chanting. Yes? Excited? Alright. Over to you, Chaitanya. Hari Om.
Thank you, Pratima Amma. Now, without further ado, I invite Chinmay Yoga Kendra Navi Mumbai members to pull the curtains and reveal the surprise. But, before that, I would like you all to know who are these chicks. Puja Gurudev once said, youth are not useless, they are useless. Chinmay Yuva Kendra, CHIC, the global wing of Chinmay Mission, empowers youth between the ages of 13 to 28 years to discover their potential and dynamism for success in all fields. Motto of CHIC is harnessing youth potential through dynamic spirituality. The success of CHIC lies in the glorious and eternal philosophy taught in a way that is appealing to the youth. With a base of study classes, which are interactive reading and discussion sessions of Vedantic texts, CHIC has developed a lot of fun activities and ways of learning by applying Vedanta to our lives, right from theatre to campus, from adventure activities to movie workshops, from seminars on youth relevant topics to festival celebrations, yatras, and social service. There is something in CHIC for everyone. Moving further, today we'll be presenting a summary on Mohamudgara, or as we commonly know it, Bhaja Govindam. This summary will be presented by Chinmay Yoga Kendra members Chaitanya DR, Naglakshmi Iyer, Pallavi Tauri, Bhavesh Krishnaram, Adit Guptan, Pavitra Holla, Arush Kumar, Suradha Iyer, Shanta Suresh, Manya Singh, Mridula Krishnan, Chaitanya Chhatre, Mahika Nikam, and Khyati Shah. So here we go. Over to you, Chaitanya DR.
Hariom, Hariom everyone. Over the last 6 weeks, perhaps last 10 weeks, we have learned Bhaja Govindam. We have churned our minds together to learn this beautiful text of poetry by Swami Shri Adi Shankaracharya. And over the course of 6 weeks, Ved Ji has been teaching us. And over the last 4 weeks, we have continuously discussed and churned the knowledge further to understand properly what the text means and have come up with our interpretations and teachings for the same. Bhaja Govindam is said to have been spoken to the person who was doing Shirshasana and trying to learn Dukrung Karne, or the grammar, as they say. And it was during the pilgrimage of Kashi that Shankaracharya and his disciples, while moving through, spotted this person. And and the whole text has been beautifully composed and sung in a flow by Shankaracharya and his disciples to this person. So moving ahead, let's start with the first verse of Bhaja Govindam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudhamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrung Karane, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudhamate. In this verse, primarily, over here, Shankaracharya talks about Dukrung Karane, O fool. Seek Govinda, seek Govinda, seek Govinda, O fool. When appointed time or the death comes, the grammar rules surely would not save you. What does this mean? Over here, Dukrung Karane or grammar rules imply the secular knowledge, or our pursuit to get that secular knowledge which helps us in this worldly and material possessions, get material possessions. This shloka, the chorus or the first line of the shloka, is repeated after each shloka to serve as a reminder for us that the ultimate goal of life is to seek Govinda. And Govinda over here could mean 4 things. The one who has realized the substratum or the very essence, the truth. The one who protects the cattle, or the very essence behind all the living things, who enlivens the beings. The one who confers speech, or one who enlivens all the sense organs. And the 4th one is, of course, he who is known through the Vedas, or also known as the supreme reality by Mahavakyas. So over here, and also apart from this, so we should also understand that there will be repeated emphasis laid on these 3 things: Kamini, Kanchana, that is the greed, the lust, and the acquisition of fame that everyone wants. In this, the wanting of the Dukrankarani, the learning of secular knowledge, could be understood as wanting the um, wanting of fame in a sense, because once you have that ephemeral fame, it's considered one of the pillars of success in the modern world. So over here it's briefly touched upon, and in the coming chapters, in the coming shlokas, we will see in more detail how each of these affect the human psychology and human psyche, and how staying away from them and focusing on Govinda will help us move towards the eternal. And with that, I would like to talk about the next one, where Kamini and Kanchana would be talked about. Hari Om.
भजैर्हृदनागमतृष्णा कुरु सद्बुद्धिर्मनसि वितृष्णा यल्लभसे निजकर्मोपातं वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Here Shankara says, "O fool, abandon the greed for acquiring wealth. Let the mind be content with whatever wealth you get by your own actions." He also addresses the excessive and magnified value that we have for the world and its offerings. He urges us to renounce the greed and the thirst to possess wealth, not to renounce wealth itself. My takeaway from this verse that it is poverty thinking that makes us poor. You may have enough of the world, a nice home, a family, a fancy car, but it is that wicked Trishna, that is that insatiable desire for the objects of the world that robs us of our actual wealth. Hence, we must move from poverty thinking to prosperity thinking. What we believe is wealth is security in exchange for its exchange value. This is the same pattern of believing that we can buy happiness, sound sleep, peace of mind, etc. The solution that Shankara places before us is that we must work towards a goal of self-realization, free from distractions of desire. Most of us want little peace in our lives. Hence, what it means is that we need to channelize our energies in a constructive manner towards the achievement of a higher goal. At the end of the verse, Shankara says that once we have pursued that higher goal with heart and soul, we must remain satisfied with what we get as the fruit of action. In this small statement, Shankara defines what it is actually to be rich. It is about being content with whatever we have. But our happiness should not be pegged on the future. Conclusively, my takeaway from this verse is that we should be content with what we have achieved, but we must never rest on these small successes until we get to that ultimate state of enlightenment. नारीस्तनभरनाभिवेशं दृष्ट्वा मागामोहावेशम् एतन्मां सवसादिविकारं मनसि विचिन्तय वारं वारं गोविन्दं गोविन्द भज मूढमते. In the previous verse, Shankaraji talks about the limitations of all sorts of wealth. This shloka talks about the limitation of pleasures. Even physical pleasure, or for that matter, any pleasure is time bound. No pleasure can always keep you happy. In this verse, Shankara deals with the infatuation and uses the technique of Pratipaksha Bhavana. Pratipaksha Bhavana is the ability to look at the same object from different perspectives. Most of us have a weakness for one of the five senses. Yet, when the sense objects are broken down into their individual components, we find none of them attractive. Thus, the enjoyment isn't really in the object, it's in our mind. We just project that enjoyment into another object. If we see the happiness is within us, we just need to find it. This is all Maya, illusion. It is difficult to overcome. When we see the mirage of water, it is impossible to understand that it is only the play of light rays that has created that fantasy of water. We go by what we see, not realizing that eyes deceive. Similarly, we are led by the senses and the mind that see things that are not even present at that moment. As long as we are attached to that one object, it is impossible to realize the perception. The same is true when a person or situation agitates our mind. We need to look at it from a different viewpoint and it ceases to disturb. Challenges too can be seen as an opportunity to prove our mettle or can be seen as roadblocks to our goals. It is our choice how we see it. Thus, Shankara appeals to us to learn the art of pratipaksh to free ourselves from this unnecessary agitation. The way to develop this is to pose questions to ourselves, analyze our desires, and find ways of dealing with them. It is through this process of questioning that we discover new dimensions in our spiritual search. Hari Om.
नलिनीदलगत जलमति तरलम् तत्त्वजीवितमतिशय चपलम् विद्धि व्याध्यभिमानग्रस्तम् लोकं शोकहतं च समस्तम् भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. All of us have been fascinated by a spinning top, right? You all have seen or played with a spinning top. After spinning it, can anyone guess when it will stop? Or let us take an example which can affect our lives. Rain. Can anyone predict when the sky might clear up, or if there would be heavy resulting in floods? We can't predict that, right? Similarly, our lives too are unpredictable. So this verse talks about the mortality of individual existence. And also when we are alive, the world is filled with sorrow. And that is only because the one's own ego. We know our date of birth and also but we don't know the date of our passing on. The only difference is that we know and celebrate our date of birth, but later on we live as though there is a lot of time left in the world. uh, uh, we fill ourselves with food, comforts, pride, and ego. And soon they come back to us and trouble and torment us in the form of disease or sorrow. So, whatever thing you want to do in your life, whatever whatever you want to say to your loved ones, whatever good you want to do in your life, that shouldn't be postponed. So, this verse basically talks about the limitation of worldly existence. यावद्वित्तोपार्जनसक्तः तावन्निजपरिवारो रक्तः पश्चाजीवति जर्जरदेहे वार्तान् कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Not all, but many of us have no use for our old textbooks, clothes, or toys. Once we have outgrown them, they lose their charm, right? But these are only objects. If we look around, I'm sure all of us know someone somewhere where elders aren't taken care of. Either they would be living in old age homes, or worst case scenario, they would be roaming in the streets. And there is a very famous example for this. All of you know about the textile company Raymond, right? So the owner of that company gave away his shares of Raymond worth rupees 1,000 crores to his son. Now, once the father retired, the son lost interest and he excluded his father from most deals of the company. uh, the father who thought that who gave away his company to his son, thinking that the company would stay in the family, uh, is now broke and living in a rented house. Just imagine. uh, what we got from this is that a parent is needed for basic necessities, and suddenly the same parent becomes a unnecessary burden. So is with some of our friends. money is respected and is considered powerful. And in seconds, the most powerful person can become powerless with the loss of money. So, this verse tells us to not have any expectations. We shouldn't get attached to the daily people we see. Instead, we should live freely and love everyone in your family, but not pin your hopes on them. We should be independent and not rely on others for our happiness, and the rest, God will take care of us. So, to summarize this in a sentence, this verse talks about worldly love.
यावत् पवनो निवसति देहे तावत् पृच्छति कुशलं गेहे गतवति वायुः देहापाये भार्या बिभ्यति तस्मिन् काये. Hariom. So this sloka points out our attachment towards a body. The sloka explains us that till the time there is life, the body is valuable. Once the life form leaves, the sacred body becomes unsacred. For example, let's take a relationship of a mother and a son. Once the mother dies, the mother that gave everything to the son, life and took care of him. Once the mother dies, the son, you don't keep the body inside the home, you don't take care of it, right? You go out and you burn it. So, as it is, without realizing this reality, we are always attached to our body. Our body is a container to do sadhana. To that extent that we need to take care of the body so that the mind can be free to pursue self-knowledge. But sadly, we ignore this reality. Moving on to the next sloka. बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तासक्तः परमे ब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न सक्तः. In this sloka, it says that when we are kids, we are more into playing. Once we get a bit older, during our youth times, marriage and children become a big part of our life. Once we get even more older, we are constantly worried about the future, thinking what's going to happen next, what will happen this, what can go wrong, what cannot go wrong, and all. But we never really give time to think about God. And our mind is so tricky that it always has some or the other justification to why these all material things are more important than thinking about God. So instead of spending time seeking the world, seeking all this material happiness, we should slowly start spending time thinking about God. Hariom, thank you.
काते कान्ता कस्ते पुत्रः संसारोऽयमतीव विचित्रः कस्य त्वं कः कुत आयातः तत्त्वं चिन्तय तदिह भ्रातः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. काते कान्ता, who is your wife? Kaste putraha, who is your son? Samsaro yamativa vichitraha, extremely strange is this samsara. Kasya tvam, who are you? Kaha kuta ayataha, where have you come from? Tattvam chintaya tadiha bhrataha, ponder upon these questions, my brother. Now being wife or son is only a role in life. At the wedding ceremony, the priest declares a man and a woman husband and wife. That is a notion that we superimpose upon a person who has an independent existence. The roles are relative and only exist in our mind. For example, the child was in the womb of the mother before birth. Before that, he was there in the mother's own body as energy. Before that, it was nothing but food, the plants and vegetables in the field, which even before that was nothing but earth. What we call earth transformed into food and later into energy in the mother's body and then became a fetus, a child in the mother's womb. Therefore, when we look at the whole process of transformation, what we call wife, child, and husband are nothing but transformations of a fundamental substance called the five elements. So, we should ask ourselves questions like what is the purpose of life? Why am I joined or united with other members of my family? Why am I? Where am I? What exactly is the role that I have to perform? What is the destination that I have to reach? But nowadays, we don't have the time to contemplate this because we are too preoccupied with our mundane duties of life. There is no time or opportunity to think about who we are. Thus, we should focus our attention on the more essential aspects of life and detach ourselves from unnecessary things as explained in the next verse. Thank you and Hari Om.
सत्सङ्गत्वे निस्सङ्गत्वं निस्सङ्गत्वे निर्मोहत्वं निर्मोहत्वे निश्चलतत्वं निश्चलतत्वे जीवन्मुक्तिः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. This is my favorite out of all the 31 verses because it is like a mathematical formula. Straightforward, and if followed correctly, it will give you one and only one result. It goes like this. Through company of good comes automatic detachment from the bad. From this detachment comes freedom from delusion. Now that you have a clear vision, free from the clouds of delusion, you experience the one true reality, and on experiencing it, you attain liberation. Now let us say I love a certain type of chocolate, but I am eating it to the point of falling sick. So one fine day I decide I am going to switch to eating healthier. Now for the first few months, people who know me and my love for the chocolate are still gifting it to me. But when I actively start refusing it, the word spreads and eventually the gifting stops. Did you see what happened there? When I wanted that imported chocolate, it flew across continents just to fall into my hands. But when I switched to healthier alternatives, the chocolate distanced itself from me. I start seeing how healthier I am now and wonder, were chocolates worth it at all? And now that I am free from the delusion that chocolate is the best thing in the world, I attain liberation from chocolate. Formulas are straightforward, but that does not make maths any easier, right? Same goes for life. But we can all start somewhere. Maybe give up on an addiction of yours. Maybe start attaching yourselves from the worse to the better, and eventually it will lead you to the best. If we surround ourselves with people and things of value, if we surround ourselves with sattvicness, it will give us clarity in thought, a balanced mind, and someday it may even set us free. Moving on to the next verse. वयसि गते कः कामविकारः शुष्के नीरे कः कासारः क्षीणे वित्ते कः परिवारो ज्ञाते तत्त्वे कः संसारः भज गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. When youthfulness has passed, where is desire and its play? When the water dries up, would you still call it a lake? Where are your relatives when your wealth dries up? Similarly, where is the samsara when one has realized the truth? The common essence of all these examples is that if we see something for what it really is, this huge palace of lies and ignorance that we create for our own fancy on the simple, sturdy platform of truth comes crashing down. We are so consumed by our desires and attachments that we fail to see the simple truth that lies at its core. A very bad habit we often have is jumping into conclusions. My friend didn't look at the message that I sent her that day, but now she's posting stories and posts on Instagram. Why that sudden assumption about her? Maybe she doesn't like, I will think maybe she doesn't like me anymore. But that is where we have to stop. Maybe she didn't read your message. Maybe she got busy with something. But what is the solution? Knowledge. Ask her what happened, and then you wouldn't have to deal with the maybes. Our incomplete knowledge leads to incorrect perceptions, which in turn gives rise to attachment, desire, or even hatred for people and things. But when we see everything for what it is, the illusion, the samsara around us fades away. Ignorance may be temporary paradise. Incomplete knowledge surely is hell. But complete knowledge, it is power and control over ourselves, our minds, and our lives. Hari Om.
मा कुरु धन जन यौवन गर्वं हरति न मे कालः सर्वं मायामयमिदमखिलं भूत्वा ब्रह्मपदं त्वं प्रविश विदित्वा. The meaning of this verse is, don't take pride in your possessions, the people who you think are under you, or your other material objects that you possess. All of these will leave you when at a certain point in time. So don't feel proud of them. Also, Adi Shankaracharya here also says that we should not give high regard to all these material objects, and we should instead turn our minds to the truth. But we can only do that if we let go of our desires to all these objects. As an example, when we were small and we went to a store or a mall, we would get attracted by most of the things in the mall: toys, books, even other articles. Now when we go to a shop, we are just not as attracted to the same toys as before, simply because now we don't really realize the value of those toys anymore. But we are still attracted to other things. We should leave all these attractions, and only then can we find truth. Dinayaminya sayam pratah shishiravasanto punarayatah kala kridati gacchatyayuh tadapi namunchat Vayu Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. This verse means morning and night, seasons such as summer and winter, they will all pass by with time. All this is in the world of Maya or Samsara. We should not pay too much attention to these or waste too much of our valuable time on these material objects. Doing so will only lead to us wasting our valuable time on earth. We should use this valuable time in seeking something more worthwhile. We should not pay very high regard to all the material objects of Maya, or we will be stuck in the cycle of birth and death forever. Hari Om.
Kate kanta dhanagata chinta vatula kinta vanasti niyanta Rijagati sajjana sangati reka bhavati bhavana vatarani nauka. So, what is it that we really worry about? Our money, our family, our expensive car, or what is it? Our time? It could be anything. I'm sure we all have wondered about this at some point in our life. So now, Shankaracharya questions the existence of this question itself and says, "Oh Vatula, why do you even worry?" So now, Vatula is a man whose thoughts roam here and there. He can never concentrate, and he's always worrying about something or the other. Like he might be physically here, but his mind will roam everywhere. So Shankaracharya says, "Oh Vatula, believe in God, have faith in Him. Just do your work, perform your duties without thinking about the outcome. Some things may not be in our hands, but if we worry, it will just make us feel worse." Then Shankaracharya also says that there is only one boat to cross the vast, huge ocean of samsara, that is Sajjana Samriddhi, or association with good people. So, to put it in a simple, short sentence, this verse says, do your best and leave the rest. So, my takeaway from this verse is that we should all have a deal with God, that we do the work and He does the work. We do the working part, He does the worrying part. So, if we believe in God, have faith in God, and we still worry, we never fully believe in God. So now, with this, Shankaracharya hands over the baton to his disciples. Each verse following this is chanted by one of his disciples. The first verse is chanted by Padmapada. Jatilo mundi lunchita keshaha काषायाम्बर बहुकृतवेषः पश्यन्नपि च न पश्यति मूढः युदरनिमित्तं बहुकृतदेशः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. So, Padmapadacharya was the first disciple of Shankaracharya. He was a very learned person and a great philosopher. He became Shankaracharya's disciple after Shankaracharya defeated him in a Shastra, that is, a philosophical debate. In this verse, Padmapadacharya speaks about a fake sannyasi, a pseudo sannyasi, or a man who is a sannyasi by his appearance and his looks, but he is not actually a sannyasi intellectually. Like he might have thick hair tied up into a jata, or he might be bald, or he might wear orange clothes just like a real sannyasi. But this is just to fool the eyes of the people. But actually, he does it only to fill his stomach. He sees what he has to do, but he does not realize the truth. He does not realize who he actually is. Hence, Padmapadacharya tells us that a person becomes what he wants to only intellectually or by following steps towards it and by doing hard work. Just pretending to become who you want is no solution. So we must realize who we are, fully devote ourselves to God, and everything will fall in place. Hari.
Angam galitam palitam mundam dashanavihinam jatam tundam vriddho yati grihitva dandam tadapi namunchatyasha pindam. The meaning of this verse, attributed famously to Sri Totakacharya, goes like this. Angam galitam, with a worn out body, mundam palitam, grey hair sprouting, dashana vihinam jatam tundam, a toothless mouth. The old man walks holding a stick, and still he does not let go of his asha pindam, his bundle of desires. The first thing that came to my mind when I read this verse was the famous example of the great dictator Adolf Hitler. It is said that during his last days, when Germany was nearing its inevitable defeat in the World War II, Adolf Hitler still refused to believe that he had lost. Physically, he was a shambling wreck. His left arm would shake uncontrollably all the time, so much so that he was rendered incapable of even awarding medals to his fellow supporters. So strong was his lust for victory that eventually his mind gave into hysteria. He ranted at his generals for not picking the right battles, and he used to accuse his doctors for trying to have him killed, just trying to justify his situation in whatever ways possible. Pitiable, isn't it? This power of irresistible desire to enjoy the world one last time doesn't even allow the weakest of the weak to be at peace. This is what is indicated in the verse beautifully. Even a dilapidated, worn out body is not reason enough to leave your desires alone. As a result of living a life such as this, we hold on to our desires until it's too late. And when it's too late, there's nothing else left but regret, sorrow, and frustration. It is this pitiable condition that we must avoid, controlling our desires and urges from this time only, so that later on it does not become difficult. And reducing our expectations from this world will lead to conscious living. And this conscious living over time must evolve to spiritual growth, meaning complete detachment from our desires eventually. This verse, though sounds very poetic, presents the harshest of realities. And this is a call for change, a change in our behavior and attitude, a change for the better. Hari Om.
अग्रे वह्निः पृष्ठे भानुः रात्रौ चुबुकसमर्पितजानुः करतलभिक्षस्तरुतलवासः तदपि न मुञ्चत्याशापाशः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Here we see a very vivid description of a man who is living like an ascetic. He does not have material pleasures of the world and survives with the bare minimum. He stands harsh weather conditions, receives alms, and lives under a tree. Yet his mind is not free from the noose of desires. We must wonder if he gives up on everything on a physical level, but his mind is consumed by the sole thought of having it. Has he truly given up anything at all? Let's go back to my example of the chocolate. If I say that I want to give up on it, but everywhere I go, everything I do, all I can think of is how creamy the texture of the chocolate was. If it shakes me up from the inside when I see someone eating it, have I truly given up on it? I lose the entire point of detaching myself from the chocolate, because whatever physical benefits it may give me, it still eats away at my mental composure. It is very important for us to understand that desire comes to a man very naturally, and suppressing something that is instinctive to us will only have negative consequences. Instead, it should come from a place of inner understanding and growth as to why you are doing what you're doing. This is the stepping stone for a person's spiritual unfoldment. If there is a pot of boiling water on the stove, there is definitely going to be steam. To avoid steam, maybe you can put a lid on the pot, but all it does is increase the pressure inside it. So, put the fire out. Don't control your mind. Befriend it and regulate its flow of thought. Hari Om.
कुरुते गंगा सागर गमनं व्रत परिपालनमथवा दानं ज्ञानविहीनः सर्वमतेन भजति न मुक्तिं जन्मशतेन. Verse number 17. In this verse, Sri Subodhaji throws light that merely living by rituals does not transcend us, but explains to chasten our desires and thoughts. One may go for pilgrimage to Ganga Sagara, but the Ganga meets the ocean. One may even donate and do charity for the betterment of the others. Even after doing pilgrimage, charity, and maintaining vows, one does not attain mukti, liberation, janma shatena, even in 100 years, if he or she is jnana vihina, does not have knowledge of self. Example, Nitya Brahmachari, though exposed to all the materialistic things around him, was dwelling on his own self. It is not necessary to lead a life of sannyasi, but what matters is the kind of attitude you possess. According to me, when I schedule my daily routine knowing its importance, complete my assignments in time, and remain well prepared for exams, that when I do things having the self-knowledge intact, I believe that desires are the cause of our suffering. So if desires are stopped, then sufferings will also end. Once we have pure mind with no false aspirations, develop Viveka Buddhi, that is the power of discrimination, for which we have to do introspection and give up on our desires. Then we can easily gain self-knowledge, which will take us to liberation or permanent happiness. In the next sloka, we learn about true renunciate. सुरमन्दिरतरुमूलनिवासः शय्याभूतलमजिनं वासः सर्वपरिग्रहभोगत्यागः कस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Verse number 18. In this verse, Sri Suraveshwaracharya ji talks about true renunciates who have renounced all the thoughts of possessions and cravings to enjoy. Basically, they have stopped desiring for more. They are the ones who have stopped finding happiness and joy
who have started finding happiness and joy within themselves. Such people take shelter under trees, wear deerskin, sleep on naked ground, and they remain unaffected of their surrounding stigma. They are desireless and detached. They do not have raga and dvesha for objects, which is known as true vairagya, and this leads to permanent happiness. According to me, when I cherish old memories with family and friends, watch a beautiful scenery, have fun with my friends, and enjoy my favorite ice cream, when my mind says yes, but my intellect says no, as after having it, I will have a sore throat, and it isn't even good for health. That's the time when I am devoid of any desires and wants. Ego will lead you to enjoy this moment, which is not permanent and will make you sick. It is only through your wise intellect that you will judge right and will get detached. Once we stop thinking about the give and take in life and instead spread love and stay strong mentally, that's when we will find happiness within ourselves. Hari Om.
योगरतो वा भोगरतो वा सङ्गरतो वा सङ्गविहीनः यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तं नन्दति नन्दति नन्दत्येव भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. The meaning of the verse is, whether devoted to yoga, spiritual practices, or delighting in bhoga, worldly practices, fond of company or in solitude, only the one whose mind rejoices in Brahman is ever happy. Let us think about our happinesses for a while. A baby becomes happy when you give him a toy. An employee becomes happy when you give him his salary. A student becomes happy when he gets the marks he expected in an exam. Similarly, if we think about it, all of our happinesses depend on something we get or expect from this world. Therefore, we can categorize our happiness as dependent happiness. Whereas a man of perfection who has realized that happiness lies within himself, as we saw in the previous verse, does not get affected by his surroundings at all. Therefore, he shall always remain happy. To put it simply, if I have already tasted choco chip ice cream, will I enjoy Avla ice cream anymore? No, because I have discovered something better, right? Similarly, a man of perfection who has discovered everlasting happiness in himself will not go around chasing temporary happiness in this world. A realized soul's happiness is therefore independent of anything in the world, and therefore he can be at peace in every situation. Sounds heavenly, doesn't it? Our happiness comes in waves. It depends on the tides of the mind and winds of the world, just temporary, washed away with the sands of time. Whereas the man of perfection, whose mind relays in the permanent himself, enjoys everlasting happiness in the depths of the ocean, unaffected by the turbulences above and outside. Hence, Adi Shankaracharya ji says at the end of the verse, Nandati, Nandati, Nandati eva. He alone enjoys whose mind relays in the Brahman. Hari Om.
भगवद्गीता किञ्चिदधीता गङ्गा जललवकणिका पीता सकृदपियेन मुरारिसमर्चा क्रियते तस्य यमेन न चर्चा भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. In this verse, three steps or three ways of spiritual unfoldment is being defined. The first one says Bhagavad Gita Kinchadidita, the one who has read even a bit of Bhagavad Gita. Over here, Bhagavad Gita can be understood to be the essence of the entire Upanishad, the Sara, right? And then the second one is Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita, the one who has drunk even a drop of that holy river Ganga. So over here, we must also understand that it's been metaphorically stated. Ganga Jala over here could be understood to be spiritual unfoldment, or the one who has seen that infinitude and had a glimpse of it. The drop of Ganga refers to over here the glimpse of the infinity that that person has had through his spiritual practices. And Sakrudapiyena Murari Samarcha, the one who also worships the Murari, the Supreme Lord, or which can also be understood as the one who has indeed dropped his bodily attachment or confinement or identification, body identification, because Murari could also be understood as the destroyer of ego. So the one who has, indeed practiced the destroyed and destroyed his own ego, him and him alone will not be fearful of death. So fearful of death over here means they have a better chance of realization, who are indeed doing all three things. The first one, and my interpretation of this verse has also been like this. Bhagavad Gita is actually something that um, is the essence of all Upanishads and drives our intellect and is for our intellect to understand. Drinking Ganga water could be understood as the action that leads us, or the Karma Yoga. And worship of Murari could be understood as Bhakti Yoga. Through this, whoever has seen the infinitude, whoever has caught the glimpse of infinity, does not fear death. This is what it means. In the future, in the next verse, we will be seeing the how the life and death, the cycle of life and death affects us, and how we can get out of this. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam, यह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे भज गोविंदम गोविंदम भज मूढ़मते. In this verse, it's been talked about the repeated cycle or the endless cycle of life and death. The more we fall into the play of vasanas, the more we keep falling into it. Every time we are born onto the earth, we have a set vasanas, and every time we indulge in those vasanas, the strength of these vasanas keeps growing. So indeed, how do we get out of the cycle of life and birth? Well, that's the question on everyone's mind, isn't it? So over here, like it's often said in the mission, detach from the lower and attach to the higher. The higher being Murari over here. So Murari, he's asking he's rather pleading that this samsara is a vast and is very difficult, and therefore I need your help to get away from it. Let's also understand what samsara means over here, since that's been talked about multiple times throughout the verses right now. So samsara and prakriti. Prakriti is God's creation, and samsara is our imposition on that creation. Samsara would mean, so very simply put, my interpretation of it is I plus prakriti is samsara. My attachment to things, my attachment to people around me, my attachment to everything, my attachment to objects, my attachment to places is what makes the samsara. This phone is not just a phone. This phone is my phone. That is what makes up samsara. Your imposition of your biased view, your tainted view of the prakriti, through which you also identify as a ego or a self contained in the body, that is samsara. Your view of the world around you through an egocentric perspective is known as samsara. In the next verse, we will understand what happens to a person who has gone beyond punya and papa, and how he revels in the world, how he stays in the world. Hari Om.
रथ्याचर्पट विरचित कंठः पुण्या पुण्य विवर्जित पंथः योगी योग नियोजित चित्तः रमते बालोन्मत्तवदेव भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. So this verse outlines that when one gives up punya and apunya, that is the vice and the virtue, that person is in a state of bliss, no matter what.
Okay.
Nowadays, we rarely use the word happy. We are always wanting more or expecting more. An employee is thinking about the senior manager's post just after signing for the manager's post. For that matter, I am drooling about buying paints when I already have a brand new box of color pencils. When a jnani walks a path that is beyond the merits and the demerits, that jnani revels and is always pure and innocent like a child. So if you look at an infant, that infant is always going to be happy, smiling, and it cannot stay angry for a long time. That's why we all love children. We love children because they're not only happy, but they also spread happiness and enlighten the atmosphere. Mattavadeva is a person who wanders like a madman. One can attain this kind of bliss and maturity of heart and mind only when one is completely immersed in God's consciousness. My key takeaway is that when our mind is focused with its goals and leaves all the other worldly pleasures, then we can achieve our goal anywhere and everywhere, alone and fearless. Like the yogi whose mind is focused on the goal of leaving punya and apunya attains peace and happiness. In the next verse, we will see how we can leave the path of vice and virtue and the materialistic world. कस्त्वं कोऽहं कुत आयातः कामे जननी को मे तातः इति परिभावय सर्वमसारं विश्वं त्यक्त्वा स्वप्नविचारं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. This shloka enlightens the importance of being inquisitive. Kastvam koham, who am I? Kuta ayata, where do I come from? Kame janani, who is my mother? Kome tata, who is my father? It is important to know the reason of your existence. I think when we know the reason of our existence, we are far more motivated. Doesn't it become easier when we know why we are doing something? However, it becomes a Herculean task when we don't know why we are doing something. It seems baseless and unimportant. As a student, when I know that, I feel much more fascinated to work towards my goal. For instance, when I know I want to serve the world and help the mankind, then I will be clear that being a doctor will let me achieve that goal. But to achieve my goal, I will have to give up all the worldly pleasures, keeping aside the entire world of experience. The world is an illusion, Maya, essenceless and just a mere dream born out of our imagination. And it is really necessary that we cross this ocean of samsara. Hence, realization is extremely important. We often don't realize that it is a dream until we wake up. It is all just born out of our imagination. The one who realizes will successfully escape the unending vicious cycle of life and death and will seek liberation and true peace. Hari Om.
त्वयिमयि चान्यत्रैको विष्णुः व्यर्थं कुप्यसि मय्यसहिष्णुः भवसमचित्तः सर्वत्र त्वं वाञ्छस्य चिराद्यदि विष्णुत्वं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. In this shloka, Adi Shankaracharya says,
in all living beings and non-living beings, from small microorganisms to big beings. There is only one reality that exists, and it's Vishnu. Even if you read all the scriptures, Puranas, it is not necessary that you will be able to realize this principle of one all pervading reality. You should not be impatient and continue to contemplate. The moment you realize this particular principle, you will realize Jivan Mukta. In Panidasi says, only in realm of multiplicity there are doubts and explanations. In the experience of the oneness, there is no doubt and therefore no answer is needed. In the next shloka, we will see it in more detail. Shatrau mitre putre bandhau Ma kuru yatnam vigraha sandhau sarvasminnapi pasyatmanam sarvatro sujabedanyanam bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudamate. He says Vishnu is all pervading everywhere. He is in everything, whether non-living or living objects. There is no difference between two people till you are able to imbibe it into your sense. So we should not waste our time in fighting with our friends, relatives, enemies, and aim for our main goal, which are more valuable and important in our life. If anyone in this world is unhappy or are going through hardships, neglecting it is only their fault and not of others. The moment we start loving sincerely, honestly, it comes back to us. What goes comes back to us. You can even say as karma. Let's take an example. If you help a person with kindness and make their day great, they might help you in a moment of your life where they will help you in your hardships. It's the same way. If you be rude to other people, they will give you the same attitude. What I have known from this is we should always treat other people the way you want others to treat you. In Katha Upanishad, it is said just as one fire having reached various wicks expresses itself as different flames. So the one truth burning in different dimensions expresses as the good, the bad, and the noble. Hari Om.
कामं क्रोधं लोभं मोहं त्यक्त्वात्मानं पश्यति सोऽहम् आत्मज्ञानविहीना मूढः ते पच्यन्ते नरकनिगूढः भज गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. We know that a country has more threat from traitors than the external enemies. This shloka says that Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha are the traitors within ourselves. In Hindi we say, अरे सांप तो हमारे ही घर पे है या फिर सांप तो मेरे ही घर पे है. So let us take example of snake as I fear it a lot. You can relate to it by thinking of something that you fear. Suppose there is a poisonous snake in my room. How will I be? Totally alert, vigilant all the time. This is how we should be in the case of the traitors within. Always alert. Now, let us say that we do some type of samjhota with the snake. I make that snake my pet. Let us consider that snake, keeping aside its nature, starts loving me back as I do. And he shows it simply by giving the slight kiss on my cheeks. So, gone, right? Snake may change its nature of expression, but it cannot change its biology. So is with these traitors. And what if I'm not alert all the time, but I take little rest in between and be alert again? We know what happens when we keep milk to boil on a gas. Milk is kept here, it comes up, I am watching the milk. Again, it comes up more and more, I am watching it. Then suddenly, I think, let me do some time management. I'll do a work that will take just a second. So I turn my head around and I do that work and come back. So again, all the milk is spoiled. That boiling milk are our emotions. They always want to overflow, especially when we are not alert for a fraction of time. So what do we learn? Alert all the time. Of what? The Atmajnan that one has obtained through studying scriptures. And what if I'm not alert? Life will be hell for me. Back to back, I'll be facing endless torture. Moving to the next shloka. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Deyam Shripati Rupamachastram Neyam Satchana Sange Chittam Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. This is the last verse among the 14 delivered by the disciples of Adi Shankaracharya ji. This shloka by Sri Sumati talks about necessity of four things: knowledge by Bhagavad Gita, devotion by chanting Vishnu Sahasranama, constant reminding of goal by good company, and implementation by doing charity. Suppose I am going to buy new sports shoes offline. I first take out all the information about the shoes online. Then I come to know about different types of shoes. Then I think repeatedly about how I look in those shoes. When I dive to catch the ball, how will it look on me? Then when I go and then I notice everyone's shoes, because now I have studied about it. I actually be a shoe devotee. Then go after going to, then I go to a shop with a friend that constantly reminds me that we are here to buy shoes. It is very necessary, because in shop they set a trap so that they loot you as much as possible. And he should not be like, दुकान में पहला जूता दिखा तू ये खरीद ले, or whatever I wear and I show him, so हाँ ये अच्छा है, ले. A friend which gives you good advice and helps you to stay in the right direction, it is very necessary. Then finally, I buy a shoe. While making payment, I start bargaining with the shopkeeper. I say, you don't include GST, I save my money. I don't do it, okay, just for example. So I agree to pay in cash to save my money, but not paying tax. But then the shopkeeper prompts me and says there is an income tax officer who is just behind me in the billing counter. So now I have to pay tax, which will be useful for everyone in the country. In the same way, knowledge that we obtain from Gita should be combined with bhakti, good company, and knowledge should be implemented by doing charity. As it shows that I have understood that there is only one Brahman that resides in me and every other living being. I care equally for everyone as I do for me. So it is my duty to do charity. Hari Om.
सुखतः क्रियते रामाभोगं पश्चाद्दन्तशरीरे रोगः यदपि न लोके वरणं शरणं तदपि न मुञ्चति पापाचरणं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Adi Shankaracharya ji explains in this verse to live in an animal instinct, for referring the pursuit of carnal pleasures, and the man there is no strain at all, and indeed devolutionary process. To fall and slip down the mountain is easy, but to climb and takes effort. Evolution is a result of effort and struggles, sweating and suffering. Thus, to live falling into the net of desire cast by hiding objects of sense, easy and devolution. When one does fall into this net, they struggle to reach out of it, although we are free to choose our own course of action. Everywhere and whenever free to consequences or fruit of our action bears. Thus, over the indulge there is a carnal pleasure, more often than not bring us health, bad temperament, and bad well of being. For example, there are two brothers. One starts a business and puts in his all efforts and works honestly and gets successful. Looking at this, his brother tries to copy him and puts all his efforts and fails because he doesn't put the efforts same to his brother and does not honestly acts. The moral is succeed is only when you work hard. Just running behind the final outcome won't give you anything. Example, one who indulges excessively, treating himself is more prone to diabetes or sugar. Even though man is aware of his existence, even then he does not live his sensual behavior. And the rage of sins are carried forward in his next birth. Now we will look at the 29th shloka. अर्थमनर्थं भावय नित्यं नास्ति ततः सुखलेशमसत्यं पुत्रादपि धनभाजां भीति सर्वत्रेषा विहिता रीतिः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Wealth is calamitous, thus reflects constantly. The truth is that there is no happiness from it. To the rich people, there is also fear of his own son, daughter, family, or near ones. This is the way with wealth everywhere. It's true for most of the part that money can't buy happiness. Unfortunately, a lot of people end up confusing money with happiness. While a lot of money can buy you a lot of creature comforts, that doesn't always lead to sense of satisfaction and happiness in your life. Example, you may buy a best bed for yourself, but would you buy sleep? Having a lot of money creates anxiety, fear of losing it. You constantly keep worrying about it and makes the person more and more greedy for wanting it. It creates suspicion, envy, and dividing of people. For example, we take the most popular story, greed is a big cure. A woman had a hen and laid enough eggs every day. One day, she thought that she would chop the hen and find a lot of money from it. But as you all know, she doesn't find anything. The moral is, who pursues two hares catches neither. By maintaining good company are truly how you prevent oneself from being parched by the thirst of wealth. Hari Om.
प्राणायामं प्रत्याहारं नित्यानित्यविवेकविचारं जाप्य समेतसमाधिविधानं पूर्ववधानं महदवधानं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. In this verse, Adi Shankaracharya ji gives us the entire spiritual path. Pranayam means breath control or control of pranas. It not only means breath control but also control of activities such as our likes, our dislikes, our desires, etc. Now, how can true pranayam be achieved? Only through sustained and sincere practice of devotion to the Lord and by selfless service to the society. Now, once you succeed in controlling the pranas, you should also know to control the senses from going to indulgences. And this is known as pratyahar. Neither pranayam nor pratyahar is possible unless the intellect is re-educated to hold enduring and healthy values of life. Hence, it is important to develop a discriminative intellect that can readily make us see through the impermanent, anitya, and recognize the eternal, which is nitya. Now, in order to develop the required subtlety of intellect still needs to undergo a certain type of training, which is available in Japa. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, Lord Krishna says that amongst all yagyas, he is Jap Yagya. Now, Jap, it purifies our mind and our intellect becomes steady. When we do all of these things, pranayam, pratyahar, nitya viveka vichar, and jap, then our mind, which is always attracted to unreal things, anitya, retires from the respective field of activities, becomes focused, and now stays in real things, which is the supreme. This state of mind is known as samadhi, and this we have to do it very carefully and not in hurry to develop this field. Haste is waste on the part of spirituality. Therefore, Adi Shankaracharya ji advises us, Purvavadhanam Mahadavadhanam. Please perform with care, with great care. You should not come another sway of mind. चरणाम्बुज निर्भर भक्तः संसाराधचिराद्भव मुक्तः सेन्द्रियमानस नियमादेवं रक्षसि निज हृदयस्थं देवम्. Here, Adi Shankaracharya ji gives us the easiest and the greatest possible sadhana, which is devotion unto your Guru. A devotee who is totally surrendered unto the lotus feet of Guru. Adi Shankaracharya ji is blessing such a devotee that may you get liberated from the samsara without any delay. A devotee who is devoted to a Guru as much he is devoted to Lord, that devotee will only understand the Shastra correctly. Now, why do you see no difference between Guru and God? Because Guru is not teaching his own philosophy. Guru is like a pipeline who transfers the teaching imparted by Lord. Therefore, we should never find faults within Acharya. Now, the next question arises is, what is the fault in seeing Guru as a human being? Many people assume Guru as a human being, but the teaching that comes out of Guru is not born by human intellect. Therefore, we can say Guru as a Tattva. This reminds me of a question asked by a student to his teacher in Prasnottar Ratnamalika, another text written by Adi Shankaracharya ji, which is in the form of question and answer. So the question is, what is to be accepted, what is to be acquired, what is to be cherished, and what is to be treasured? So the answer given is Guru Vachanam, meaning Guru's words. We should never ignore Guru's teachings. What is to be rejected, we take it in our heart and get hurt. But he told me this, he told me that I am not any use to him. That we take it in our heart and get hurt. But what Guru tells you, we don't accept it. So we should accept Guru's words because Guru is like a mother. Guru is interested in Shishya's shray, not prey. So we just have to open like a flower. Guru will automatically come in our lives. To summarize this text, Moha Muddara means hammer on delusions. So here Adi Shankaracharya ji is putting hammer on our delusions. We think our family members will be with us forever. But Adi Shankaracharya ji putting a hammer on this delusion says that as long as you are the earning member of the family, till then your family members will respect you. And your near dear ones will also be with you. You have pranas in you. Once you die, your own so-called near dear ones will be afraid by the sight of your body. Then we learn a simple technique of attach and detach. Attached to the Supreme, detached from the worldly pleasures. We also went through both physical and mental ways through which we can purify our mind. Physical ways include yatra, vrat, and dan. And mental ways include pranayam, pratyahar, and jap. These sadhanas give purity to your mind, which is now eligible to gain self-knowledge. And this self-knowledge then helps us in attaining liberation. The last, Adi Shankaracharya ji gives us the greatest and easiest sadhana, which is devotion unto the Guru. Perhaps Adi Shankaracharya ji is frustrating his own teacher, Govinda Bhagavad Padu, by the stanza. And like this, our text comes to an end with the blessings of Adi Shankaracharya ji upon all his seekers. Hari Om.
Hari Om. So let us all together chant the first shloka, which signifies that the study of seeker never stops. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudhamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrun Karane. So this was Bhaja Govindam for you, the Chick way. I thank you all for joining with us today. You can also follow Chick Navi Mumbai on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We express all our gratitude to Brahmachari Ved Chaitanya ji and to all Sevaks and Sevikas. Now I would like to request Brahmachari Ved Chaitanya ji to speak a few words. Over to you, Ved ji.
Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswate Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Samastajana Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahmavitvaram. Hari Om. Extremely delighted to listen to all your presentations and to see the slides. I don't know how many of the other people connected the slides and the animations to the verses. Good job. I am going to not congratulate individually because it's a team effort that I can clearly see. So well done. I hope the parents, study group members, and Balvihar kids like the surprise that I was talking about. Just few observations that I have as a teacher. I am supposed to give critical feedback as well. First thing, when you read Gurudev's commentary on Bhaja Govindam, Gurudev often uses the word Shankara. Shankara says, Shankara roars. It is okay for him to say that. It's not okay for us to say that. You should always use the word Adi Shankaracharya ji or Shankaracharya ji, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. It's a thing that we also did when we were youngsters. It looks nice. Shankara says. So that's okay for him to say. Okay, that is number one. Second thing, somewhere Padmapadacharya's story was confused with Sureshwaracharya. I don't remember who it was. The disciple whom he defeated in the Shastrartha was Sureshwaracharya, not Padmapadacharya. That is number two. See, now we are living in a very different times in the sense that people are very carefully and scrutinizing our every word. So please be careful about the gender that we speak. This is something that I have also learned recently. I did not think of it before. So in Gurudev's commentary, etc., you will often hear the word man of perfection, man of perfection, man of perfection many times. But there are many women who take, complete, what do you say, objection to this, saying that why are you always saying man of perfection? So just be careful. You can say person of perfection. So person can mean both man and woman. These are some things that I told you, I also came to know recently. But you see, I see great potential in all of you that you will become future leaders, speakers, orators. So these are some small things that we have to be very careful about. Right? These are going a long way. You will understand it more and more, what I am trying to say here. But great presentation. The points are clear to you, and it was well communicated that they are clear to you. Right? So if I am not wrong, 15 of you spoke today, considering that my calculation is right, on 31 verses, which is a good job. Well done to all. To children, you see, this is what we have to be. These are our role models, not some TV stars or superstars, or these are our role models. These are people amongst us who are taking their time of youth to study such wonderful texts. For elders, you have just been given a taste of what youngsters can do, right? Gurudev always believed in youngsters. He said youth alone can. We in India have majority of our population youth. If a change has to be brought, if a transformation has to be brought, it is going to be from youth. Doesn't mean that youth will do everything right. No, it will be never like that. But we should have a lot of hope in them. We should give them confidence that they can do it. Correct them whenever you need to. I'm not saying give free rein to youth, saying that do whatever you want to do. No, not like that. They should be guided. They should be tamed when necessary. They should be punished when necessary. But you know now what they can do, right? Now to youngsters. Spoke to children, to study group members, now to youngsters. This is the cool way of life. School life is not to party. That's boring life actually. See, the entire thing of school life started that you want to do something different than all other youngsters, isn't it? That's called cool. Now the whole world is going for party. You also go for party. That is not cool now. Cool way is this. You understand what spirituality means. You walk the path of spirituality. You understand about our Indian culture, about our religion, about our great, what we say, traditions that we have. Walk that path. That is the best thing. All right. So that is something that is important for you. That is school life. Never be ashamed of this. Never say that, oh, how can I tell my friends that I'm going to this class? Oh, come on. You should be proud of this. Right? And the world is changing. You know that. People are understanding the importance of spirituality. They are turning towards it. You will be the pioneers in doing that because you are Gurudev's kids. Right? So be proud of this and walk this path now. We have understood the theory. Now it is time to put it in practice. Even if you understand all the things that a medicine does, it will not give its result unless you consume it. Right? You have got the theory right now. Now it's time to put it in practice. Right? Wish you all the best for that. To all other study group members also, I have been seeing your enthusiasm in being a part of this Foundation Vedanta course and Advanced Vedanta course. We have discussed further things, and Anandji, Vidhuji will let you know about it. Right? So today we conclude this session in the sense that I'll hand over to Chaitanya before that. But next session is going to be question answer session. Am I right?
Yes.
So what you can do is, whoever in this group has questions, please put those questions in our Pathshala group. Is that group only for study group members?
Yes. So far it is like that, but
No problem. It can remain like that. All the chicks, whatever questions you have regarding the text or whatever is not clear, you put it in your group. You must be having your own group. One of you can compile all the questions with names, saying that this was asked by this person, this was asked, and send me the consolidated list. Okay. So from chicks, I will receive one list, and from study group, Anandji or Vidhuji, one of you will send me one list, so that in the next session, first I will take the questions that have already come to me, and then we will open for questions of all. And as Pratima Amma said, next time, students, I mean the children, are going to chant the Bhaja Govindam. Am I right? Right. So that will be the fitting conclusion of this entire Jnana Yajna that we have had. All right. All right. That's it. Nothing more from my side. Very delighted, very happy to see and listen to all. Nice job. Well done. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Vedji. Will take into consideration all the points that you have said. With the guidance of elders, we aspire to grow more and more as much as possible. And also thank you for all your appreciation. So now I request everyone to turn on the video so we can click a photo together. Okay, I'll make a count. And then we'll click the picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hari. Oh, thank you, everyone. We have few announcements for you. I request Anandji to proceed with the announcements. Over to you, Anand.
Right. Thank you, Chaitanya. Thanks, to the Czech group. It was a very good session. I have 3 announcements. One, of course, Vedji has made it easy already by talking about it. So for the study group participants, next week, it's a fully based on Q&A format. So as Vedji advised, please share all the questions on the SG Parsala Extension group or any other group. So we will compile and send it to Vedji. The reason for collecting is that we can organize the questions in a proper structure so we can get maximum benefit. And if we have some time, we can also take some spontaneous questions. So very soon after a few minutes, I will post in WhatsApp group like this, what you see on the screen. So already one sample question is there. So please keep adding your questions so I can also track who has sent which question without disturbing the other questions. And really will be a wonderful conclusion of the session. We had excellent sessions. We should take the maximum benefit and conclude this text with the guidance of Vedji. Another announcement, this is regarding the study group. Again, we are also very happy to notice your great enthusiasm to join. Currently, it's in the preliminary stage of planning. We have a lot of got receipt of more than 40 persons for Foundation Vedanta course, 20 persons for the Advanced Vedanta, more than 20%. So in this week, we are likely to contact those who have put your names with asking for slightly additional information, most likely the email address. So once we get that information, we will send it to CIF. CIF will send us instructions individually to those email address. So kindly give the email address which you use regularly and which you intend to use throughout the course till the end of the course. After you receive those instructions, please go ahead and complete the registration process. This is a standard CIF course, as you know, but because we are all going together as a group, we have the benefit of getting a discount. The standard fee is 4,720 for either course, but there will be a discount which will be advised by CIF.
Yes, Anand, just to add there,
yes,
just spoke to them yesterday. It will be 25 to 30% discount will be there on this to the entire group. I mean, to individuals also, whoever is registering together.
Yes. Hariom, thanks Vedji for the clarification. In addition, we are also facilitating the study group. I mean, you could do the course individually, but to have an enhanced Mananam. So you can see tentatively we have planned it on Saturday, 8 p.m. onwards for the foundation, but 7 to 8:30. But of course, once the registration is complete and we have a final list of participants, we will discuss and see what changes need to be done. So again, as Chinmaya Prerna, we are looking forward to coordinate this. There are good participation from many other zones also, and it will continue. If you want more details, you can ask for them. And quickly, the last announcement, which Radhikama already announced, but those who didn't join in the beginning, for the benefit of those, especially for Bal Vihar children, there is a summer camp. So by Swatmanandji, we will also share this flyer in the WhatsApp group. So please take the opportunity to enroll your children for this wonderful program on Purushottam Ram. With that, I come to the end of my announcement. Back to Chaitanya. Please take it over.
Thank you, Anandji. With this, we come to the end of this session. As the rich tradition of Chinmay Mission, we will say the pledge first. I request Chik Mridula to recite pledge. Over to you, Mridula.
Yeah. Everyone keep your right hand on your heart. We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever ready to fight against all low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly the noble life of sacrifice and service, producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. We seek the Lord's grace to keep us on path of virtue, courage, and wisdom. May the grace and blessing flow through us, the world around us. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Self. We know our responsibilities. Give us the ability and courage to fulfill them. Om Tat Sat.
Now, I request Chik Anugraha to chant Shanti Part and complete this program. Over to you, Anugraha. Hari Om.
पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम